AGS robo-grading.
Today, we'll be grading a card with AGS from start to finish. We'll see it get submitted, scanned, graded, slabbed, and delivered. When customers come to our website, the first thing they have to do is select their service level when they're making a submission. We provide a few different service levels depending on the value of the card. Then using our modern search tool, they're able to go through 2 million cards in our database and select their cards. Once they've selected their cards, they can decide whether or not they want to clean the cards as well. Once they've selected their service level and their cards, a customer is directed to select their shipping details. They may have us ship the cards back to them or store them in our vault. The AGS Vault provides access to our marketplace where they can sell the cards. If they decide to ship, they have full insurance that scales with the price of their cards. That is a fee added to the order. They can also apply payment using any debit card or credit card, as well as cryptocurrency. We also do a lot of promotions to incentivize more sales. Prior to payment, they are queued to review their submission, make sure everything is accounted for, including the service level and shipping address. And then they are completed with their submission. They can decide to pay later. This customer decided to pay later, so they have the option to get a promotion if they pay in the next 24 hours with a 5% credit. Otherwise, they may continue to package their cards, use the provided packing slip to ship the package to us, and we will then process their submission. And once the cards are ready for grading, they will be triggered to pay. Everything is stored in our dashboard, and users can see the status of their order at any given time. We also send email and text notifications about the progress of their cards through our system. The first process when we receive a card, we go through them meticulously and make sure that all of the cards are accounted for. Then we go and take the cards and put them through our scanning process. The way this works is with gloves. We handle the card, and this is one of the only times where we actually handle the card. We will take the card out, put it on the scanning tray, and begin scanning the card. We typically run anywhere from 400 to 1,000 cards through the scanner every day. We can amplify that number with additional shifts and with multiple scanners. All people have to do is press one button. The card will get photographed and then laser scanned. The scan generates a 3D topographical map of the card, a unique fingerprint of the card, so to speak, that we can then analyze using machine learning to evaluate any sort of defects from scratches to creases, etc. Anything that would deduct from the card's overall grade. So here we have the result of the scan. We can see that this is the front of the card, the front of the right shoe. Here you can see little scratches and other defects. If we go into the measurement tool, we can get a nice visualization in a 2D display of, the card is actually bent. So what we will do, this is kind of the initial software that views this. All we do here is save the file for processing by our AI. We can see all of the little patterns of the surface just from that interface. What our AI does is, through a multi-tiered process, it first normalizes the card, so it flattens it out, and then that amplifies all of the defect spikes across every single profile. Basically, if you can imagine cutting the card into rows and columns of pixels with height information. We take all of that, we process it through our AI, and then it outputs a surface grade, a centering grade, a edges grade, and a borders grade, and also selects the borders. Once we go through that process, as soon as this is saved, there is a Slack interface, Slack tool, just another button. We just give the order ID and the grades are generated. We can view the cards through CVAT. Once the cards have gone through the orders bot, which is our tool that connects to our AI computer that's attached to this machine, we have a graded and annotated card. All the defects have been selected and identified. All the borders have been identified and graded. This is our dark right shoe. We can see in green, the borders were selected. In red, the outer border was selected. If I hide those, you can see little yellow selections all across the card, indicating small defects. Along the edges, you can see like this whitening on the edge was captured. This is a reverse hollow card, so we correctly identified that these were not substantial defects, but more so aspects of the card. On the back, you can see the borders that were selected, but here we identified some scratches, some scratch areas. The selection is an approximation by the AI, but generally it results in a very consistent grade. Overall, this card got an 8.9 according to our strongest model. So we got an 8.9, which would, in this case, round up to a 9. Front got a 9 and the back got a 9.25. So overall, this card was an 8.9. We can see the centering on the front was perfect. The edges is what really hurt it on the front of the card, as you saw when I went over it, and the edges on the back as well. This is an older card, so that kind of makes sense. Luckily, the surface, corners, and centering were all in fantastic shape. We also have a statistical model called raw RoboGrades that gave a similar response, around 8.65. It's around the same territory. When these two numbers are similar, we can be very confident in the grade. And in this case, we are. So we would apply and copy over the grades from here as the final grades when we update them in our system. So this card overall would get a 9. And that's it. So we got 8 subgrades that were all generated by AI. We got drawings demonstrating where the defects are that correlate with the grade, as well as borders and centering measurements. Centering measurements that we use are not entirely AI-based. They're more so real measurements that we do on a pixel to pixel level. So our measurements are within 25 microns of exact centering. So very, very, very precise. And this machine has less than a 1 micron repeatability factor on it, at least for our scanning utility. So that provides a very high rate of consistency. Every time we scan the card, we're going to get the same results. We also scan and process sports cards, and we have a very similar process for these cards. Pretty much exactly the same, but in the background we have another AI that we use specifically designed for sports. So we trained it on sports cards. So this is an A.G. Harris card. So you'll see here that we saw some vertical print lines that we deemed significant. Also, this centering was generated on its own. There were some scratches on the back, but we developed through our training a threshold. Most of these cards are damaged on the back, so we are a little bit more lenient on that. And all of these factors are adjustable as well every time we make AI updates. Here you can see we selected all the defects on the border. Generally, the surface and the patch of this card are in great condition. We can also go to the AI now and see what the grades were for this card. This card got an 8.5 overall, also due in part to the edges. We do both Pokemon and sports cards. We're able to submit cards and process them at scale. All we really need is just the card to get scanned and for the data to be processed by our AI system, which is reinforced with training with over, right now, 200,000 plus cards. Now that the cards are graded, we have to go to the next step, which is to print out the labels. The label will then be printed using our labeling software once it is exported from robograding.com. This is the slabbing process. It is a manual process that is very hard to automate, although we are working our best to try to automate it as well. We simply take the label, fold it, place it onto the slab, make sure the slab is clean, take the card out. We could do this either with gloves or with really clean hands. Place the card in the slab, make sure it's firm. Now the card is ready to go. To weld the card, we place the card face down. And now the card is nice and sealed and ready for delivery to the customer. We typically do one more scan on the card to get the scan and a nice image of the label, the front and the back. After this process, we will ship out the card. And thank you for being part of this demo. See you next time.